Should you layer perfumes and fragrances? And if you do, how do you actually do it? Find out coming up next. Welcome back, everybody, to Joel the Nose. And today's video is, I'm going to answer a question first. Should you layer fragrances? I can tell you personally, I rarely do it. My opinion on this is perfumers spend so much time, money, effort going into creating the perfect perfume, and to mix it with something that was not intended is, to me, it's like taking a great artwork and mashing it up. Now, I know in music today, they mash music up all together, all the time, and it becomes very popular. So I guess I'm thinking more of like, imagine taking two paintings and then somehow mashing them together, So that's a little philosophical. But I understand the reality is people sometimes like to be their own artists, and that's cool. And you want to create your own maybe unique fragrance, and you're not a perfumer and you don't know how to make your own perfume. So why not? So I thought about that. I'm like, I do layer occasionally, and I wanted to give some tips on how I think layering fragrances can be properly done. Okay? So first, I'll give you a couple tips, 3 or 4 tips here. If you're going to layer a fragrance, what I would suggest first, or layer a couple fragrances, Google, or actually go to ChatGPT, which is great now, or any type of AI device, and type in basically what are 2 fragrance notes that complement each other or go well together in a fragrance. So you may see something like rose and oud, a very common combination of fragrance notes. So then what would I do? Okay, for example, I've done this before. It's fun, actually. Also, you get to play with technology and you get to learn a little bit about fragrance. And what I did was, I've taken one of my favorite rose fragrances of all time, A Day in My Life from Mark Buxton, and I've taken a really strong oud fragrance from Amouage, King Blue, and what I've done is I've sprayed them and I've combined them together. And that has created, in my mind, something I actually liked, because this is something that they complement each other. Now, obviously there's other notes in there, and that's why things can go haywire here, but the dominant notes to me in these 2 fragrances are oud over here in King Blue and rose in A Day in My Life. So that worked well. You got to experiment a little. It's not always going to work, but at least that gives you a guideline. The next step, and actually I wrote this down, so let me review my notes a little bit here because I want to make sure I give you guys correct information. Okay, so the second tip or point that I would give you is spray on different parts of your body. So, for example, if you're going to use, again, these 2 fragrances, don't just say, for example, spray on your arm or whatever, on your neck of one and then right over the top of the other. I'll give you another example. Imagine it's like taking food. Let's say you have a dinner plate with 4 or 5 different items, a meat, a vegetable, a fruit, a salad, and then combining it all like in a big mush, like a baby food. That's what you're doing, I think, when you spray it on top of each other. Versus if you eat a meal like it's supposed to be eaten, where you have different things that you can enjoy at different parts of the meal, and they're separated. Again, the vegetable, the meat, the potato, whatever, the salad. So what I suggest is take your fragrance, spray, for example, maybe on the lower part of your arm, one fragrance, and the upper part another. Or maybe do one arm, one fragrance, one arm, the other fragrance, one on your neck, maybe on one side of the neck, and on the other side of the neck, the other fragrance. So again, you're not mixing, but it's allowing them to come together. And this is after you've already determined, again, that you like the smell of these 2 fragrances together. But it allows it now to complement each other without interfering too much with each other, and to, I think, really maybe magnify each other. Okay? That was tip number 2. Tip number 3, let's see. Oh, okay, yes. So tip number 3 is, I also suggest when doing this, pick one that you want to be the dominant note or the dominant fragrance. So for example, if you like rose more than oud in this example, I would spray more sprays of the rose fragrance than the oud fragrance. Again, it allows one maybe to have a little bit more prominence rather than trying to make them exactly equal. And this, again, is going to require some experimentation. Maybe you reverse it. Maybe you see, you know what, I actually like it a little bit more with the other one. But it's a little bit trial and error, but I do highly suggest allowing one to be the dominant note. It's just like in a single fragrance, there's usually one or two dominant notes that have the main makeup of that fragrance. So I think apply that same technique to layering the fragrance. And actually a fourth point that I wrote out here is seek out brands that actually encourage layering. And there are brands out there that do that, including niche fragrance brands, very good ones. I'll give you an example. Initio Parfums. Initio Parfums, they actually make a fragrance which is called Magnetic Blend number 7, which is right here. And this is a very, basically almost pure musk fragrance. And it's that kind of white musk, probably has some isoe super in here too, maybe even some ambergris or amberwood. But these are very good base notes that bring out and enhance other fragrances. So they've created this fragrance to actually spray with other fragrances in their collection. For example, I have right here Oud for Happiness, and I've mixed these two, and that is a very good combination. And so you can look at brands that actually encourage this, and they will make base fragrances that you can spray that mix very well with other fragrances, and a lot of times they'll even give it recommendations on which ones they think. You know who also does this? I think Veronique Gabai does this. Makes fragrances that can be blended specifically together. So, you know, do your research, find some fragrance brands, and maybe that's the best way for you to start out with brands that have already kind of shown you what to do, and then you can get into these other tips that I just talked about. So let me know what you think. Do you layer fragrances? Are you a regular layerer? Do you like doing that? Is it something that for you is taboo and you never do? I'd like to actually get some feedback and some comments going on this. And then also give me some examples of fragrances that you've layered that work really, really well and that you would like to recommend to people in our community here, because I love this community. I love how people come together on my channel and the comments and kind of make recommendations. It's a lot of fun to look at, and I can tell you I read all of them. So this is something that I like to engage in, and even though I can't always reply to every comment, I do read everything. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys found it useful, and I will be back soon with another video. Peace, love, and perfume.